that draft choice if I'm co-signed by Pratt. So minds I blow, through the ashes I rose, from concrete to stone, Long Beach own fountain.
Everyone, welcome to Conversations with Creative Cambodians. I am your host, Kay Chang. This podcast is all about showcasing different Cambodian artists. We are known mostly for donut shops and the killing fields, but I'm coming across all sort of different artists throughout my life. And today we have a filmmaker, Jason Nou. Jason, how you feeling today?
Hi, it's good to be here.
Good to have you. Thank you for coming here. Talking to my allergy infested ass. This is oh wait, we're at the temple. I shouldn't cuss. Okay. But now we're gonna talk about your art form, your film, and all of that. But first, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. How old are you now?
I turned 36 last week.
36, big 36. Did you do anything fun for your birthday?
I went to Marin and did wine tasting. It's one of my favorite activities. So
that's a very this is very 36-year-old birthday.
Great.
I think when I turned 30 was the last time I got drunk and wasted, and now it's just a lot more chill these birthdays around. So there's not a lot of Cambodian filmmakers out there, so let's start from the top. How did you get into it? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So I remember very distinctly back in high school. It was it wasn't until the end of maybe my senior year when a lot of people were talking about, going to college and different things. And I still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I always enjoyed storytelling. A lot of it just came with joking around, like in class or with friends. And they always kind of came in the form of a story. Like something happened to you the day before or at some point in your life, and then you just kind of tell it, but it kind of in an amusing way. And I always enjoyed that part of people responding to your life experiences. So I didn't make that decision to kind of make a career out of it until I thought of film and what it does, especially because it blends so many forms, animation, camera techniques, lighting, sound, all that. So I thought that was the most representative form of translating imaginative stories into a form that you can share.
Gotcha. So you started early, right in high school is when you just... Well, tell me about your very first film that you made, or first sketch, or your very first work.
Oh, wow. It probably wasn't until college, actually, because that's when I learned more of the techniques and had access to the tools. I think when I was younger, maybe I could have done it, but it just wasn't something that I could explore very well. It was just a matter of watching TV and then learning from that. But not until I went to... so I went to junior college before I went to four-year college, and then that's where I experimented with the film form. So we had a camera, and then I wrote the story, and then it was a class project. So we just got together and then shot I think it was a class short, which was a Western that I wrote, and then
you wrote and shot a Western.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is kind of funny thinking about it, but it was I think the class chose a topic, and then I wrote the story, and then I was actually the only one that finished the story because it was a competition between all the different classmates that wanted to maybe showcase something, but I was the only one that turned something in, so they went out with my story. So yeah.
That's pretty dope. And what was this Western? Give me the synopsis.
Oh, okay. It was about a character named Card Counting Carol that exposed a corrupt sheriff by playing a game of poker.
That's pretty intricate plot. For how long of a movie was this?
It was probably 10 minutes.
Wow, that's pretty intricate for a 10. And that was your first one to shoot in a 10-minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still ever watch it?
I watched it once after I transferred it from VHS to digital, and
Dang.
yeah, it was a learning curve.
Okay, so let's talk. You said a VHS.
Yeah,
I don't know what the age group is for our listeners. I don't know, 3 of our listeners, whoever's listening to this, but VHS goes way back.
Yes.
Filmmaking has changed. You've been in the game for a long time now, right? It's changed a lot. The technology changed. How do you keep up with everything that happens so fast?
That is a hard one because a lot of people might tend to invest in their equipment, and what it does, it allows you access, and that's great. You should always be able to work when you want, but it does change often. I would say the best way is Collaborations, you always want to maybe reach out and work with people that have different gear and then kind of learn from it that way. So that way, if you do invest, you know what you're getting. And then the idea is always you make an investment, so you pay for it, but you kind of want a return on it in a sense like you loan yourself out or you work on different projects. So that way you learn it that way. So I would just say, looking at catalogs, working with people, and then testing it out.
Yeah. Are you finding it challenging to keep up constantly with the rapid technology?
It does. It does. I think the only thing you can actually rely on is your techniques, like knowing how you approach problems or situations, and then applying that to whatever you're working with.
So, okay, let's talk about the technique for a second. As a comedian, I've been trained to just always be on. Like, I have to think of jokes all the time.
Oh, yeah.
If no matter where I'm at, like, just to get personal, like a month ago, I had to put my dog down.
Oh.
And I was just sitting there like, how can I make this funny?
Okay.
And I still haven't figured it out. But like every situation, no matter how dark it is, I'm like, I got to think of a way to make this funny. I got to make up a joke.
Yeah.
When you are around, are you always on? Like I could totally film this, or like this would be a good story to watch. Like, do you think like that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
No, in the sense that sometimes I feel like I should come up with an idea, but I just have a hard time. I'm not sure what the best angle is. I'm not sure where what I'm going to capture. And I think it was a developing process when I maybe started to answer yes, in the sense that maybe there is a story. I think specifically was in my training, studying it in classes. I think experimental class really helped me in the sense that they talked about you don't have to be a certain type of person to be on film. You don't have to be a certain background to make films. Films should really represent people that are the common audience. So I think that really opened my eyes towards like what can be a film or what can be artful. That is open to interpretation, but I think being able to at least understand that part allows me to kind of have a wider lens and accepting more kind of more common themes as intricate stories or things that can be told or shared.
So who would you say is your audience? Who do you cater to? Like,
before it was always, I would say, like a Asian American audience, just because I felt they were an audience that wasn't really represented, and also I feel like I had I had that viewpoint that I could share. But I feel like it's really niche now, maybe because I feel like because I really enjoy puns, and then so like I would say one of my most elaborate puns was a whitewashing critique of when they did Ghost in the Shell. So they casted Scarlett Johansson Ghost in the Shell, and then I made this critique of whitewashing as a sense of adding bleach to laundry. So I made this whole trailer, and it was just this one big pun about bleaching clothes. But I felt like it got so little views, and it's so niche in the sense that people that knew the story, people that knew the criticism, people that kind of deeply read my message, because they're like, oh, this obscure filmmaker put out this like piece that's critiquing it with this pun. I don't know what audience that is, honestly.
Yeah, well, it's actually, I don't know. I would guess. I don't know. I'm not the filmmaker.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm not a great marketer, but I would guess that's pretty well known. Like it was.
Yeah.
It was a big story.
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson whitewashing Ghost in a Shell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty cool. So you mentioned like getting views and stuff. You've been in it for so long.
Yeah.
And not just the filmmaking technique and the technology has changed, but the way that you present it gets out there. How do you stay? Oh, somebody just walked in.
Okay.
Folks, we are not in a podcasting studio. We are at the temple today. This is a very authentic Cambodian experience.
Yes, it
Just
is.
people walk and
Holy.
Yes, exactly. I almost had to sit on the floor uncomfortably. That's 90% of being Cambodian is learning how to sit uncomfortably.
I can't do that.
Yeah,
It's hard.
It's especially like when you get older, you're like, I can't. Anyways, but yeah. So okay, two things. You mentioned puns.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to mention that I am the February 2019 Bay Area pun-off champion.
Oh, hey. Okay. All right.
So if you think you're good at puns,
Yeah,
they
I'm
do that
not.
show bi-monthly.
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
I don't know if I'm there yet.
But also you talk about like, the expansion of YouTube and people posting it and on Vimeo and Dailymotion,
Mm-hmm.
how do you keep up with that part, like the marketing and competing with more and more filmmakers?
That one's really hard actually, because it's funny. I made the comparison that here I am, going to like school to study film and trained in it, but here I am losing to people posting up cat videos. It's just like it's like, hey, look at what my dog did, and then it's just like, man, they're getting like all these hits. People are sharing it, and I'm just like trying to create art and craft, and it's just like barely anything.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I am one of the biggest consumers of cat and dog videos, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry for that. I respect your art form, but man,
Okay.
dogs are adorable. But that's another thing. Is
Yeah.
like not only has technology and marketing changed, but the barriers to entry to
Yes.
becoming a filmmaker
Yeah.
has changed. Right now, I mean, like podcasting, somebody can do this with a cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that with film at this point, right? A cell phone is so powerful.
Yeah.
So can you keep up with that too?
Yeah, it's a matter of kind of figuring out your voice, I think, like a perspective you have, because kind of what I understand from different people doing different, so content creators are kind of the general term for the people posting videos or, having their own channel. And I think what makes anyone stand out in a saturated market is just their own unique perspective on any kind of topic. So I think anyone that's just, interested in a certain, so for example, I would say reaction videos are very popular, like people watching something and recording them reacting to it. I thought that was such a strange phenomenon when I came across it. I'm just like, what's going on? It's just because I thought it would have been like more of a like a movie review, like you watch something and then you kind of critique it, but here it is, it's just people recording themselves watching a video and then them reacting to it, and then at the end of the video that's kind of it, like you're like, okay, that's my reaction. And it's like, oh, no critique, no summary, no
It's very meta.
it is. So I think, but what makes it different, there's a bunch of reactors, people reacting, and they get a big audience actually, but what makes anyone different is just kind of their unique reaction to it, or like their own kind of experience with the material or whatever. So
Gotcha. And by the way, I totally feel you on like the cat and the dog videos, because I saw a video of a guy smashing his balls on an escalator and that was the funniest thing I've ever seen, and I'm like, nothing I write, no matter how hard I work at comedy, is ever going to be as funny as that video. It's just can't win with that one. So.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, you maybe it's limited, like those things anyone could pose, but I think what you can create is something special, experienced by you. So it's a matter of persistence, I think, being able to not only just create it, but kind of keeping up with it. And that's kind of the problem I'm facing, like how to kind of be consistent, because it might take so much time to craft something, and it's like something you really hold on to, or it took so much effort that you kind of want to, use it for as much as you can, but because you're not doing it, because it's hard to scale that or kind of do it constantly, you kind of, the amount you produce might be less, and then your audience might kind of dwindle. So it's kind of a tough balance.
Yeah, but maybe you touched on this a little bit. Is like you have an art form and a very technical skill set. As an artist. So like this is filmmaking is probably one of the few kind of art forms you can make a living off of doing that. Like I can't make a living off of the free drinks and French fries that I get doing comedy shows. So like being in this field, in this art form, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, like you got to travel a lot for shooting, like does it weigh on you? Is it an endurance test?
I think so. You really have to know what you're getting yourself into when you start this. Film, it's especially independent film, you kind of don't always have a linear track. So sometimes you just kind of start as like, maybe a lot of people start as PAs, so they just kind of help out on set, but then some people might gravitate towards something, so sound or lighting or something. For a lot of independent makers, you do have to be a jack of all trades, because excuse me, because you do have to find where you want to be, but also if you ever want to get something done, you kind of have to do it all. So if you wrote a story you want shot, you might have to produce it because no one else is just going to pick it up.
Right.
Yeah, because everyone's almost in the same basket where they're like underfunded, want to tell a story, maybe have access to some gear, know some people, but can't really get it going.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I think what's really missing is just the producer part of it, someone to kind of like manage it.
Bring it all together.
Yeah, because being the creative, you're you have like the art, but you don't have the access, or you don't have the ability to coordinate. So it is, because the other part about producing, it's not very glamorous because you're really just dealing with the insurance, the permits, the logistics, so you're like, oh wow, I'm a filmmaker, but here I am just doing Excel,
Yeah.
So it's not like so that's why a lot of people may not get into it, but you're kind of forced to, just because if you ever want your story told, you kind of just have to take the reins and make sure you can carry it through.
So other than say Excel and permits and that sort of stuff, what other big roadblocks have you had in your career?
Let's see. I mean, funding is always the top one. I mean, that's why platforms like Patreon or like Kickstarter are pretty useful just for people that want to do stories.
Right.
So, but beyond like the money part, let's say everyone's funded. I think what's going to make it tough is kind of maybe experience, or because the thing about knowing people that know people is that they can give you access to things, or people you can work with that have a lot of experience. If you don't kind of have that, then you're kind of just starting from the bottom and then just learning as you go, which I think a lot of us go through anyway, and that's not a problem necessarily, but it will kind of slow the kind of output you have. So I think it's always worth it to kind of mix the crews and teams, so that way you get experienced people working with like maybe newcomers, but not everyone has to come from learning. They could also just be able to already chip in, just working with people that can delegate the tasks and things like that.
Gotcha. And so you mentioned a little bit like your audience that you're catering to mostly is the Asian American community, and I think they just wrapped up CAAMFest.
Oh yeah, they're starting in May.
Starting in May. Oh, okay. I should know that. See, I'm a very bad community member. I used to be more involved. Are you still involved with CAAMFest?
I am. Okay. Yeah, I'm. I volunteer with them and I work with them year round.
Okay, cool. Do you want to give us the quick plug for CAAMFest?
Yeah, sure. CAAMFest is they're celebrating the 37th year this year. They're the largest Asian American film festival in North America, showcasing Asian and Asian American art. I work with them in different capacities, but during the fest we open it up to the whole community to watch films that they may not be able to watch in different ways, especially the independent films. A lot of our selections are people, either first-time filmmakers or people that are known internationally maybe, but not so much here. I think the San Francisco Film Society's film festival, like it's just an international festival that's starting in April, but they're international, so they have limited selections of Asian films. But I think the CAAMFest is the one where you're gonna not only be able to meet some of the filmmakers, but also other community members that are involved in different community aspects, but also like in the film process.
And you were on the selection committee?
Yeah, okay. I review films for them, but I also do some of their catalog writing. So I copywriting for their catalog, and then also I Q&A host for the festival whenever they need that.
So you're on film for that portion?
The
moderating.
Yeah. So that's the fun part.
So if I was a filmmaker, which I'm not, by the way, if I was a filmmaker and I wanted to submit, what do you, as a selection member, look for in a film?
The criteria is always, so we have our ground rules where it's just kind of like, a predominant member of the team is going to be of Asian background.
Right,
so, director, producer, talent or so. But it doesn't have to be an Asian film in the sense that, I think the critique of Asian American film is always about identity. It's like, who am I, growing up and things like that. It doesn't have to be a film like that. It could be a film about, anything. You just have to be a person that represents coming from an Asian background in a sense of maybe your experience and things like that. But beyond that, we definitely want stories that reflect unique perspectives. So someone in the community that may not be well represented. So, like Cambodian or Hmong or something isn't necessarily, even from the country, there's not like a big studio to back it. But, even here, tales of those communities aren't necessarily documented really well or recorded much. And if you do, like you mentioned earlier, you might just get like killing field kind of stories and things like that.
Yeah.
Which, it's a part of our history, which, it's important to tell. But I don't think every film that a Cambodian filmmaker makes has to be about that.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Just because, that kind of limits us, and it kind of, strangleholds us into just one narrative. I joke that, whenever I present myself as a Cambodian filmmaker, someone will ask me, oh, what's your documentary about? I didn't say anything about documentary. Why are you coming at me with that? But, it's a important topic again, but we have many experiences. We have a lot of different stories. I think it's worth it to explore those as well.
So how much of being Cambodian influences your work? How much are you, is it, like we said, it's part of us, it's part of our culture, and therefore it will become a part of our art. So how much of it becomes part of yours?
I would say
you don't have to ascribe a percentage.
No, I'm just thinking. I would definitely categorize myself maybe as Asian American before I'm Cambodian American, mainly just because I think of my interaction with different community members and things like that. So I definitely feel like I have an Asian lens on a lot of things I take on. Specifically Cambodian, I would say it's always there in a sense of just my own unique experience. So whatever I'm kind of drawing in from, like, if a character I write is going through something, it probably comes from a personal experience that I'm drawing from, and that would come from my household and my parents and things like that. So it would be very Cambodian in that regard. But also I think it fits in the general Asian kind of category as well, because of some of the similarities.
We're definitely Asian.
No, that's true. But I'm just thinking of the difference of, like, maybe, like, let's say a more East Asian filmmaker might come from, like, I think there are a bunch of similarities, but the unique Cambodian aspect would definitely be from my own personal experiences.
Gotcha. And do you have anything that we can find that is that we should look up?
Oh yeah, I mean, I just finished my website, so
You just finished it?
I just finished it like last month, and 2 months. At the end of January, and it was a long process. Just trying to. I mean, I'm not a web person, but just finally finding a place to direct people of all my work instead of sending them like Instagram or LinkedIn or like a Vimeo. It's just like, hey, check out this site, but here's this link, and then it's just like, wow, that. So finally having one place to send everyone is a feat that I'm happy about.
That's great. Yes. 2019. It's a lot of different mediums out there that you can post about.
But if you want to find it, it's my name, and then it's Noumenon X. So NOUMENONX.com.
So you got like a stage name, like a rap name? Is that?
It's interesting because noumenon is actually a Greek word, but it's basically the opposite of phenomenon. So brilliant. So phenomenon is something you can observe and see, but noumenon is something you can't, but has happened. So, and plus my last name is New, so I'm just like, this is gonna work for me.
Okay.
So,
That's I just go by K. It's not as really as creative or deep. I'm just gonna pick the first letter.
That works though. People recognize it.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, so you have these perspectives. I mean, the big thing that blew up, of course, last year, that brought Asian America to the mainstream is Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
You knew we were going to have to talk about this, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so.
It was that or Marie Kondo, so yeah.
Well, let's do both. All right,
okay.
Let's start with the Crazy Rich Asians. Yes. What's your take? How do you feel about it? Do you love it? You're like, oh my God, this is so exciting that we now have our voice in the mainstream.
I think it's great. That a popular book, first of all, Kevin Kwan wrote a best-selling book, and then it got turned into a movie. And I think it happened the best way possible because I was at a panel discussion when John Chu was talking about the discussion with Kevin, and there's a character in the film that is a filmmaker, one of the main character's cousins. It turns out that it is like somewhat related to John Chu in the sense that it could have been based on him. So I thought him picking it up was actually very proper, especially him being from Palo Alto, and the main character Rachel is she got her Stanford degree, so I think it was very properly done in that regard. But I think just in general, the film was a voice in Asian America that was longed for. And they talked about how it was like 10-15 years from Joy Luck Club, and
I think longer than that, right?
It was longer, I forgot, but it's first of all, I don't think a Asian film has to be all about Asians made by Asian filmmaker. Right. That's kind of very extreme. But I think the best argument I heard was that this was a progress towards inclusion. So this was like a film that was just like showcasing. It's just like, look at all these talents. There's so many people that are talented, and they could play so many roles. I mean, the story is set in Singapore and with Asian background, but I felt like it appealed to many audiences just because it was like they're getting married and it's like about meeting the family. I would say when I was watching it, it reminded me a lot of My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I'm just like, I felt like I've seen this film, but at the same time, the thing about stories in general, it doesn't have to be a super original film. It just has to be told in a way that expresses, a certain viewpoint or whatever. So I thought it was great. I thought it was a great film.
I'm gonna confess, I didn't like the movie. I just don't like romantic comedies.
Okay.
I don't like.
That's fine.
So everybody was like, "Oh, this is gonna be like our Black Panther," and then I watched it like, "This is not. This. I'm." So bored watching a rom-com. I'm sorry.
I understand. I totally understand that, and I would allow that criticism actually, just because like it is a romantic comedy film, and it's not going to appeal to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, obviously, I had to watch it. Obligated to.
Yeah. Gold open.
Yes. So let's talk about Marie Kondo,
okay, sure.
which I love.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Complete opposite. I love that show. How do you feel about Marie Kondo?
I didn't know. I don't have Netflix.
Neither do I. I just use my cousin's account.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know about her until people were talking about her. And it's funny when people like criticize her. One word I didn't really learn until Crazy Rich Asian actually was virtual signaling. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but so it's basically when someone tries to critique something to let's see, I don't know the best way to describe it, but it's basically when someone critiques something trying to say that they have a merit behind it, their critique, kind of like I don't know, they're vocalizing a criticism that isn't necessarily necessary, but they feel like they should put it out there because they want people to gravitate towards it in some way. So the critique with Crazy Rich Asian that I learned virtual signaling, the term from, was somebody saying, but where are all the other Asians that represent, that demographic and things like that? And then, it's just like, fine, that's a fair criticism, but at the same time, what is this film trying to do? It's trying to translate the book into a movie. And then they're trying to like showcase this kind of like romantic comedy. So you can have that criticism, but at the same time, if you're so critical of a film, will this film ever be made? It's like, well, they weren't that age, they don't have that accent. And then it's just like, you're really kind of nitpicking at that point. But anyways, with Marie Kondo, I feel like some people virtual signal. They're like, it reinforces stereotype of, gentle Asian lotus flower or whatever. I'm just like, you can make that reading, but that's not, I feel, is actually happening. Like, she is this woman that knows how to tidy and trying to share it, and then Netflix wants to copy or like document it and showcase it. So I feel like on its plain face, it's very much a film, a story about. Like I watched different interviews with her, and she's talking about it's not necessarily about the physical clutter, it's about the clutter in your heart. So it's just like, okay, it's a mentality as well than it is just like a physical order.
I mean, she is a part of this, like her being Japanese and her personality. I mean, it sells the show. That's part of what makes the show so entertaining. I think so. And then we view it through the lens, like as an American, we view it through her client's lens. So I'm not gonna pretend like it doesn't have something to do to why the show is appealing. But touching on that Crazy Rich Asians, maybe we need like a crazy middle class Cambodian story that you can make. Just instead of partying in Singapore, we're just going to Costco.
Yeah.
Waiting in line for free samples.
Right.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah. Packing the car, just like
yes, exactly.
More than is safe. Yeah.
9 people on a motorcycle. That'll be that's gonna be the next big thing.
Yeah. No, it's I think half of Southeast Asia can relate to that.
Yeah,
just being
exactly.
packing it all in.
Yeah, that would be very cool. Well, we are about to wrap up.
Okay.
Can you tell us? A few more questions.
Yeah, sure.
We'll make this a little bit longer.
Oh yeah.
So you've been filmmaking for a long time. Do you? Is there a filmmaker that not necessarily Cambodian, not necessarily Asian, but somebody you think we need to look out for? Like you need to watch this work.
I'm kind of bad at that because, a lot of people ask me about, a lot of different films, and I actually don't watch a lot of films. It's kind of weird, but I watch a lot of films. I do watch. People don't know. So they're like, European film, like foreign films or Asian films. But I watch different things for different reasons. And I'm not really great with names either, but I'm thinking who's good is, I was watching a documentary last night on DW, which is like this German group, but they were mentioning the people that did the Oscar-nominated film for, I think, independent film. I think a lot of those directors, I don't know their names, but the ones that were nominated for the independent films, I think they were really good. So the animated shorts as well. So, and that's the thing. I don't think just because they were recognized by the Oscars, people should, gravitate just to that. I think those filmmakers themselves were great anyways, but because they were recognized, that also gives them more, bigger platform to kind of share their work. So I would say look at 2019's Oscar nominee for independent films. I think those people were actually really good.
So, sidetracking again back into Crazy Rich Asians. I mean, it hit the mainstream, but do you ever get frustrated that there's not enough love for the indie filmmaker or the independent film?
I do. Just because I think they are actually working really hard, and they're they have to do so many different things. But what makes it difficult is just the market, I guess, or even appetite. Actually, I think their appetite is there, but because studio heads or whatever, whoever has the power, they just don't necessarily look to explore. I feel like they always have a certain model they work with and keep with that. But I definitely think it's different in different markets, like South America or European films. I think those independent films are definitely, I think they definitely have an ability to have a showcase independent filmmakers over there.
Okay, cool. So where do we find Jason now? Yeah. No. Now as in NOW. Like where are you at now? What's upcoming in what projects you're working on right now?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. I just finished a screenplay last year, actually, about a so the story is about a deported Cambodian American that went through the gang life here, which is why he got deported. But he started breakdancing, a nonprofit breakdancing group in Cambodia, which basically I think started breakdancing in Cambodia.
Wow.
So yeah, his name is KK, or that's his
I've heard of him,
stage name. Yeah. But he got deported. He was one of the first that got deported here. And it's basically the story of deportation, but also second chances. Yeah. So his story is kind of very representative of a certain group of Cambodian Americans that get caught up in poverty. So that cycle of poverty where, like, maybe you start, the street life. So you learn breakdancing, but then, like, he got into the gang life because of protection, getting, attacked by different ethnic groups and things like that. Yeah. But then, getting into crime and then getting deported because of those things. But then he got a second chance when he ended up in Cambodia because he taught the youths there that were kind of going through the same troubles he did a way out. So, like, how to break dance. So it's a narrative film. It's actually a fictional account of his life, but it's based on a true story. So it's not a documentary, but I think it has a lot of heart. And I think, I would definitely want to shoot it if possible, because I think, having the lens that we have, but also like the kind of, it should definitely be very gritty in the sense of like street, not super polished, kind of like a Hollywood studio might do it.
Gotcha. And that's incredibly timely.
Yeah, that's right.
Film.
Yeah.
And so any social media handles, your website again?
Yeah. So you can find all my past work and also all the current things I'm working on. I collaborate a lot with different people too. You can find it all on my website. And mostly you can find me with Noutype, which is Noutype. So you just type that, search engine, Twitter, whatever, you find me. But my website again is noumenonx.com. That's numenonx.com.
Okay, great. And are there any screenings upcoming that we should check out for your work?
There's one film that I shot that got into Tiburon Film Festival. Ooh. I mean, I was a gaffer on that. So I'm a filmmaker, but it's in different ways as well. Yeah. So there's a directing aspect that I kind of did a lot, a bit early 2000s. But now I've been doing gaffing a lot, which is lighting, setting up the lights or directing the lighting. So a project I did the lighting for, or also worked in lighting department, was playing in Tiburon Film Festival. I'm not sure what the dates are, but look up Tiburon Film Festival this year. And then the film is called The Statue.
Okay, great. Yeah. That is awesome. Well, Jason, thank you for coming in on this beautiful day.
It's my pleasure.
Doing this podcast with me. Folks, everybody in podcast land, help me thank Jason.
Thank you. Yeah, right. Yep. So goodbye. Hãy subscribe